New information tonight on the death of a woman in Jersey City. She was shot last night as she was about to go into a store. CBS 2's Karen Dillon reports.
36-year-old Aieshia McFadden was a beloved member of her community. A mother of four, those who knew her say she'd do anything for her kids.
She really loved her children. She loved her children. That's what she talked about.
Latricia Thomas met McFadden years ago when they lived in the same neighborhood. She saw her a few weeks ago.
All-around nice person, and she was really the life of the party. Like Aieshia, you see her, she'd be yelling at you from across the street, "Hey girl." She was just a really sweet person.
This is the story of Aieshia McFadden. On December 4th, 2020, 36-year-old Aieshia McFadden of Jersey City, New Jersey, was shot and killed near the intersection of Martin Luther King Drive and Bidwell Avenue. She was walking with one of her children when she was approached by a man. Reports indicate that the encounter escalated following inappropriate contact by the suspect. Gunfire occurred on the street, and McFadden sustained a fatal gunshot wound to her torso. She was transported to Jersey City Medical Center and pronounced dead shortly after arrival. The Jersey City Police Department and the Hudson County Prosecutor's Office responded to the scene and initiated a homicide investigation. Evidence gathered included witness statements, physical evidence from the location, and surveillance from nearby areas. The investigation quickly identified Thaddeus Williams, a 37-year-old man from East Orange, New Jersey, as the primary suspect. Williams was arrested and charged with murder, criminal sexual contact, and multiple weapons offenses. Legal proceedings followed, including arraignment, pretrial hearings, and eventual plea negotiations. In July 2022, Williams pleaded guilty to aggravated manslaughter. In October 2022, he was sentenced to 20 years in New Jersey State Prison under the state's No Early Release Act. Before we dive into today's story, we want to hear from you. Where are you tuning in from? And how do you feel as the story unfolds? Welcome to Deadly Crime Unmasked, the show where we expose the shocking crimes that rip through communities and the chilling secrets lurking behind closed doors. These are real people, real events, real consequences. Don't forget to subscribe and activate notifications. You won't want to miss the gripping story that's coming up. Now let's dive in.
Thomas is now deeply saddened to hear about McFadden's death. Police say she was found with a gunshot wound to her torso near this liquor store in the area of Martin Luther King Drive and Bidwell Avenue around 8:30 Friday evening. McFadden was taken to the hospital where she was pronounced dead.
Totally senseless, totally unnecessary.
Chris Gadsden is the principal of Lincoln High School, where McFadden was a cafeteria worker.
She had a great relationship with the kids of the building. She was just, a part of the school, like part of school culture.
Gadsden says he's heard from members of the community that McFadden was here near this liquor store on Friday evening when she was approached by a man who then touched her inappropriately. An argument ensued that resulted in McFadden being shot. Gadsden, along with other community advocates, say more resources and protections are needed to keep women safe.
She wasn't protected. Trying to protect herself is what got her killed. And that's sad as a black woman in America. So I think we have to do much better.
In the meantime, the advocates and Latricia Thomas are praying for McFadden's 4 children.
She's going to be missed by a lot of people because a lot of people loved her.
The community members are hoping someone comes forward with information about the shooting so McFadden's family can find justice. In Jersey City, New Jersey, Karen Dillon, CBS 2 News.
Aieshia McFadden was a 36-year-old resident of Jersey City, New Jersey at the time of her death. She was identified by law enforcement and local press following a shooting incident on December 4, 2020. McFadden's identity and age were confirmed through official statements by the Hudson County Prosecutor's Office and subsequent media reports. McFadden's connection to her community was documented in media coverage of the case. She was a mother of 4 children. Reports from local news indicated that her children ranged in age from approximately 8 years old to early adulthood, based on fundraising descriptions and statements made by those assisting her family after the incident. On the evening of December 4, 2020, one of her children was present with her at the time immediately preceding the shooting, according to news accounts. McFadden's role as a parent was a central fact noted in reporting on the case. She was the primary caregiver to her 4 children, and community fundraising efforts following her death referenced both the number and approximate ages of the children. underscoring the family impact of the event. There are no public court or investigative records indicating additional family details beyond the presence and support needs of her children. Media coverage focused primarily on her immediate role as a mother and the direct consequences of her death on her children's lives. At the time of her death, McFadden was employed by the Jersey City Public School District as a cafeteria worker at Lincoln High School in Jersey City. School officials confirmed her employment and noted that she had established positive working relationships with students and staff at the school. Principal Chris Gadsden publicly described McFadden as integrated into the daily operations of the school's lunch program and familiar to many members of the school community. Reporting on the case emphasized her role within the school, noting that colleagues and administrators recognized her as a consistent presence in feeding and supporting students during the school day. The fatal incident occurred in Jersey City, New Jersey, at the intersection of Martin Luther King Drive and Bidwell Avenue, a location confirmed by law enforcement statements and multiple news sources. McFadden was discovered outside a liquor store in this area following reports of gunshots. The intersection where McFadden was found, 217 to 219 Martin Luther King Drive, was specifically referenced in prosecutor statements regarding where officers responded and where the victim was located. This location, which is part of the city's commercial corridor, had previously been the scene of other violent incidents, though the McFadden case was uniquely documented due to the fatal outcome and subsequent legal response. On the evening of Friday, December 4, 2020, 36-year-old Aieshia McFadden was outside in Jersey City, New Jersey. At approximately 8:30 p.m., McFadden was walking with one of her daughters toward a nearby store on foot in the area near 217 to 219 Martin Luther King Drive, a commercial residential intersection. The location where McFadden was walking included a liquor store and other small businesses. According to accounts shared later by community members and reported in public sources, as McFadden walked with her daughter, a male individual approached her near this liquor store area. Community statements later described that the man touched her inappropriately while she and her daughter were present. These accounts indicated that McFadden physically objected to the contact and voiced her objection directly to the individual. 2. The sequence of those actions, the approach by the male individual, alleged inappropriate touching, and McFadden's objection, is important in establishing what precipitated the violent confrontation. According to these reports, the interaction escalated into a confrontation between McFadden and the man after she refused the contact and made clear she did not consent. There is no public documentation that McFadden attempted to leave the area before the altercation. She was still in close proximity to the liquor store when the incident reached its critical point. Immediately following this confrontation, reports of shots fired were received by law enforcement at approximately 8:30 p.m. from the area of Martin Luther King Drive where McFadden was walking. The first alerts were radio calls that indicated gunfire in that area. Responding officers from the Jersey City Police Department arrived quickly at the scene. Upon arrival, officers located an unresponsive female laying on the ground with an apparent gunshot wound to her torso at or near 217 to 219 Martin Luther King Drive. The location where McFadden was found was secured by officers as they processed arrival information and began emergency response protocol. The victim was later identified as Aieshia McFadden, age 36, a resident of Jersey City. Emergency responders from Emergency Medical Services, EMS, were also on site shortly after officers. EMS personnel examined her condition at the scene and determined the need for immediate transport due to her injuries. McFadden was transported by EMS to Jersey City Medical Center for medical treatment. Despite the emergency medical care provided en route and upon arrival at the medical facility, her condition did not improve. She was pronounced dead at approximately 9:10 p.m. at the hospital. Medical authorities later confirmed that the cause of death was due to the gunshot wound to her torso, and a full medical examination was conducted to document cause and manner of death. Once the shots fired call was made and law enforcement arrived on the scene, the Jersey City Police Department, JCPD, took primary responsibility for initial scene response. Officers secured the perimeter around the location where McFadden was found and initiated preliminary investigative procedures. Within hours of the incident, the Hudson County Prosecutor's Office Homicide Unit became involved in the investigation. This unit typically responds to any suspected homicide in Hudson County to lead evidence collection, witness interviews, scene documentation, and coordination with local police. The investigation was a joint effort between multiple agencies, including the HCPO, Hudson County Prosecutor's Office, investigators and uniformed police officers from JCPD. Additionally, the East Orange Police Department plainclothes unit was later involved in aspects of the suspect apprehension and follow-up investigative actions. At the scene, officers located McFadden's body in a public area on Martin Luther King Drive, a known thoroughfare in Jersey City. The first responders identified the gunshot wound to her torso as the critical injury likely leading to her death. The responding officers secured the scene to preserve evidence and to ensure that any forensic material would not be disturbed. They established a perimeter and began preliminary inquiries, which included but were not limited to recording the exact position of the body and noting physical surroundings, identifying possible witnesses in the immediate vicinity, collecting shell casings or ballistic evidence at the scene, contacting the Hudson County Regional Medical Examiner's Office to arrange transfer of the victim for autopsy and cause of death determination. These tasks were standard procedure and essential to preserve forensic integrity and assist in identifying a suspect or motive. Investigators collected initial statements from any witnesses present and attempted to verify the sequence of events leading up to the shot being fired. These recorded statements and scene information formed the foundation of the ongoing homicide investigation. Law enforcement also monitored nearby areas for possible video surveillance that could have captured parts of the incident, seeking any available footage from businesses or public cameras on the route McFadden was walking. The Hudson County Prosecutor's Office indicated that the investigation remained active at that stage, with authorities seeking additional evidence and information from the public to support case development. Through continued investigation and law enforcement leads, authorities identified Thad Dews, sometimes reported as Thaddeus Williams, a 37 to 39-year-old man from East Orange, New Jersey, as a suspect in the incident. Williams became the primary suspect based on preliminary evidence collected by the Hudson County Prosecutor's Office and JCPD investigative units. Once identified, a request was issued for his arrest. Williams' residential address in East Orange, New Jersey became the primary location where officers planned to execute his arrest due to known records and leads obtained during the investigation. The Hudson County Prosecutor's Office Homicide Unit coordinated the arrest operation with the East Orange Police Department Plainclothes Unit. Plainclothes units assisted in locating and safely taking Williams into custody. Williams was arrested on the evening of Saturday, December 5, 2020, at approximately 7:10 p.m. in East Orange. Law enforcement located him in the area of Carnegie Avenue in East Orange, acting on investigative leads. At the time of his arrest, he was taken into custody without public reports indicating a significant confrontation between officers and Williams. He was then transported to the Hudson County Correctional Facility in Kearney, New Jersey, where he was held pending his first appearance before a judge. Upon arrest, Williams was formally charged with multiple offenses related to the incident. Murder, in violation of NJSA 2C 113A1. A first-degree crime under New Jersey law. Possession of a weapon for an unlawful purpose, in violation of NJSA 2C 394A1. A second-degree offense related to unlawful use of a firearm. Unlawful possession of a weapon, in violation of NJSA 2C 395B1. A second-degree offense regarding prohibited firearm possession. Criminal sexual contact, in violation of NJSA 2C 143B, related to allegations that he touched the victim inappropriately immediately before the shooting. These charges reflected both the actions believed to be directly connected to McFadden's death and other illegal conduct that occurred during the interaction leading to the shooting. On July 26, 2022, during the course of legal proceedings, Thad Dews Williams entered a guilty plea in connection with the charges related to the death of McFadden. He pleaded guilty to one count of aggravated manslaughter, which is defined under New Jersey law as a first-degree crime. An aggravated manslaughter conviction means the defendant accepts responsibility for causing the death of another person through serious reckless conduct that manifested extreme indifference to human life. While the original charge was murder, the plea resulted in a negotiated change to aggravated manslaughter as part of the prosecution's and defense's agreement. As part of the plea agreement, Williams did not proceed to a full jury trial. Instead, the plea resolved the central charge against him through a court-approved agreement that allowed for a determination of guilt based on the singular count of aggravated manslaughter. Following the guilty plea, the Hudson County Prosecutor's Office announced its recommendation for sentencing. Prosecutors recommended that Williams be sentenced to 20 years in New Jersey State Prison. This recommendation was made in accordance with New Jersey sentencing guidelines, and it included that the sentence be served under the No Early Release Act, meaning Williams must serve the full term without eligibility for early parole. The plea agreement and sentencing recommendation were reviewed by the court. On October 21, 2022, the Honorable Vincent J. Militello, JSC, presided over the sentencing hearing and imposed the 20-year term as recommended. The sentence was formalized and is to be served under the terms established by the No Early Release Act. The sentencing hearing was held as scheduled in Hudson County Superior Court System with Judge Vincent J. Militello presiding. At that hearing, the court formally imposed a prison sentence of 20 years on Williams. This sentence was the direct result of Williams' guilty plea to a single count of aggravated manslaughter, which he entered on July 26, 2022. Under the negotiated plea agreement, Williams admitted responsibility for causing the death of McFadden, which reduced the original potential maximum exposure that could have come with a first-degree murder charge. The court's sentencing order was delivered in open court and was entered into the official docket. The 20-year term was the sentence that the prosecution originally recommended under the terms of the plea agreement, and the judge adopted that recommendation in full. Williams, who was 39 years old at the time of sentencing and a resident of East Orange, New Jersey, was remanded to the custody of the New Jersey State Department of Corrections immediately following the pronouncement of the sentence. The court's sentencing decision was a formal legal determination based on the plea agreement that Williams signed, which stipulated that the count of aggravated manslaughter would carry a significant term in state prison. By entering a plea rather than proceeding to trial on the original charges, Williams avoided exposure to a potential life sentence or a higher determinate sentence that could have arisen if convicted at trial on murder charges. The sentence imposed by Judge Militello in October 2022 was subject to the No Early Release Act (NERA) of New Jersey. Under this statute, certain violent offenders, including those convicted of serious offenses such as aggravated manslaughter, are required to serve the full term of imprisonment imposed by the court before becoming eligible for release. The No Early Release Act was enacted by the state legislature to ensure that offenders convicted of specified first-degree or violent crimes serve substantial periods of incarceration without earning credits that could significantly shorten their prison terms. As applied in Williams' case, the NERA designation means that the 20-year sentence could not be reduced through typical parole or early release mechanisms. Instead, Williams must serve the entirety of the 20 years as imposed by Judge Militello before any consideration is given to post-release supervision. This statutory structure eliminates discretionary early release, ensuring the sentence reflects the seriousness of the conviction. The state's use of the No Early Release Act in this case followed standard practice for prosecutions involving deadly violent offenses. Prosecutors exercised their discretion to recommend the NERA sentence as part of the plea agreement, which was then accepted by the court at sentencing. Once the NERA sentence was imposed, the legal effect was to bind Williams to serve the 20-year term without parole eligibility until the term is complete. During the sentencing hearing, the state of New Jersey was represented by experienced prosecutors from the Hudson County Prosecutor's Office. The prosecution team on record included Hudson County Assistant Prosecutor James Felix and Deputy Chief Assistant Prosecutor Leo Rinaldi. Both prosecutors were responsible for presenting the state's argument in support of the agreed sentence and for ensuring the factual basis for the guilty plea was properly entered into the court record. Assistant Prosecutor Felix, acting on behalf of the state, acknowledged the court's decision and outlined the state's position regarding the appropriate sentence based on the plea agreement and applicable law. Deputy Chief Assistant Prosecutor Rinaldi joined in the prosecution's representation, contributing to the legal strategy and presentation of the case through the plea and sentencing phases. Their combined involvement reflected the office's prosecutorial role in a case involving a fatal shooting and a negotiated guilty plea. Prosecutors were also responsible for coordinating the exchange of information between law enforcement and the court, including ensuring that the sentencing court had access to relevant investigative findings and the factual basis for the plea agreement. By presenting the agreed facts and recommended sentence, the prosecution assisted the judge in her statutory duty to impose a lawful sentence consistent with the terms of the plea. In the wake of the sentencing and the conclusion of the court's role in adjudicating the criminal charges, several public records, media reports, and community responses documented how the case continued to be referenced and reflected upon in official and community spaces. Following the 2020 shooting and the subsequent legal proceedings, local fundraisers were organized to assist McFadden's children with financial support. These fundraisers were documented in various local media reports and public records, indicating that community members and private organizations took action in response to McFadden's death. In addition to formal fundraisers, online forums and community commentary threads discussed the incident and the outcome of the case. These discussions occurred on platforms frequently used by local residents, where users shared news articles, court updates, and legal developments. While not part of the official record, these online threads contributed to public awareness and provided a venue for discussion about the case and its impact on the local area. The combination of organized fundraising efforts and informal online discourse illustrates how the case remained present in localized community memory and public conversation after the sentencing. The Hudson County Prosecutor's Office, led by Esther Suarez, issued formal press releases and statements regarding both the charges and the sentencing outcome in the McFadden case. These official communications outlined the factual circumstances of the shooting, the arrest of Williams, the accepted plea, and the subsequent sentencing. Prosecutor Suarez's statements confirmed factual details of the incident, including the date and location of the shooting and the legal trajectory that led to the plea and sentencing. By releasing statements through official channels, the prosecutor's office maintained a public record of legal actions taken and ensured transparency of the criminal justice process in a high-profile local homicide. Official notices also served as a resource for media outlets reporting on the case, which cited the prosecutor's office releases when summarizing the case details for public distribution. These records remain accessible in public archives and are used by researchers, journalists, and community members seeking verification of events and legal outcomes. If this story gripped your heart and left you questioning the truth, don't forget to hit that like button and share it with others who need to hear it. For more chilling true crime stories that dive deep into the mysteries behind these tragedies, make sure to subscribe to our channel and turn on the notification bell. You won't want to miss our latest updates, investigations, and thought-provoking discussions. Thank you for being part of this journey with us as we uncover the truth and seek justice. Together, we can make a difference. Stay safe, stay aware, and we'll see you in the next one.